What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to try to get this, my old dashboard, back into the car. It's going to require a lot of trimming because it's pretty tight in there right now with all those bars. So let's see if we can get it to work. So this is going to be really difficult to kind of get in there. So when I made my A-pillar support bars, part of the reason you bend them is to get the dash in and out a lot easier. So that's these bars, if you can see them. So I made them straight, which is fine for structural integrity and whatnot. That's kind of better. But if you bend them to where they kind of follow the door and then come in to meet the roof line, it would be a lot better because that would give about another 4 inches, 3-4 inches of clearance, not only for me, the driver, with the steering wheel. That would have been a little bit better, but also for getting the dash in and out. I didn't really think about that. I thought about the clearance for the driver, but it really wasn't an issue when I sat in there and I made them. But getting the dash in and out, it's going to be hard. So I'm going to probably have to trim more than I need to. So the dash probably won't look that good because of that, but oh well. That's better than me cutting out these bars, cutting out my gussets and all that stuff and then starting over. That'd be a lot of work, and then I risk damaging the rest of the cage doing that. So I don't really want to do that. So we're just going to end up trimming a lot of the cage off, which is going to take a while. But we'll slowly get it done, remove a little bit at a time, and learn from mistakes. That's the most important part. So I guess I know for the next cage I built to take everything into consideration. So the plan is to get this as best as I can, to obviously trim as much as I can. That way I can actually remove it and get it in and out without going through the windshield, because that is not going to be an option 99% of the time, to remove the windshield just to get the dash out. That's way too much work to pull a dash and replace a harness or do anything like that. So I'm going to go through the windshield since I have that option available now. Roughly put it where I need to, and then start trimming to meet up the bars, because I already knew I had to trim quite a bit for the forward laterals, but that's not an issue. So that's what I'll trim for, and then try to get it to move forward as much as I can, or move to the one side as much as I can. Make the same trimming on the other side, and once I do that, then I can see how much more I actually have to trim to jam this thing in place. Now, I am using a pretty crude tool for this, angle grinder with a cutoff disc. I have a Dremel, but I don't have very many like grinding discs or anything for that. I just bought a bunch, but they all break really, really quick. So for the big cuts, I'm going to use this, and then try to radius and to smooth the edges out, I will use the angle grinder or the Dremel to make it look a little nicer. But those, if you've ever used one, you definitely know that those tips do not last, and then the grinding wheels will just break right off really easily. I apologize if you have a crappy dash and you saw me destroy my really nice one. Yeah, it's kind of crappy to watch that. But I've got to cut another inch out of the passenger side, and then it should be able to go in and out of the car with the cage in, obviously, and without taking out the windshield. So hopefully this works, that way I don't have to hack up too much more and completely ruin how this thing looks, but I'm too late on that anyway. Fits-ish. Doesn't fit too bad. You just ignore the huge holes on both sides. Yeah, that looks bad. I'll have to like come up with something that'll hide how bad these holes are, but with the 2 bolts holding it, you can tell it is pretty sturdy, but that would be really annoying on rough stages to have that bouncing around. So I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to steal these from the stock dash bar. So these are just center supports. I need these anyway to be able to run like the HVAC controls both into this and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to take those off of the dash bar, bolt them into here, and they should roughly line up with this dash bar that I added, because it's pretty much at the same height. Hopefully it lines up, and then just weld it into place in there, and that'll give the dash 2 more places to actually bolt to, and should add a lot of stability to it. And I need to do that anyway, so I can actually mount all the other stuff in the center. Alright, I lied. I'm not going to be welding these to them. I thought about it some more. That's why I didn't include any of that footage of me like cutting the brackets, because I was about to get there. I was like, oh, if I do that, this cannot come out. So this is the heater core, the heat exchange, whatever. So if I weld these in, I'll have no way to get that in and out anymore. That defeated the purpose of me positioning everything for that. So that'd be kind of dumb. So I'm not going to be doing that. So I will just rely on bolting them in. And right now it's just like friction fit. But the dash is pretty stinking solid. It's not rattling anymore. So I'm fine with that, honestly. It's good enough. It'll hold the dash plenty well enough. And it saves me having to weld anything to it. So next step, I do need to weld up a mount for the steering column. So I just tacked it into place roughly where it's going to go. I made the marks and whatnot, lined it up where it needed to go. Now I need to make the support pieces that are going to contour to the tube and then meet up with this plate. And then once I do that, tack those into place, and then I'll break this tack, pop this whole thing out, clean it all up, and then fully weld those support pieces on, and then weld onto the weld nuts on here. And then tack it into place and make sure everything's good. I'll probably throw the seat in there too, just to make sure that the steering wheel actually makes sense for where it is. But it should be good, just because it lines up. There's a little notch in the dash for the steering wheel, so like right here, I just aligned it with that in the center. But it should be good enough to get me pretty close, and then like I said, I'll check it with the seat. So next step is to cut those support pieces out. Alright, just finished my measurements and all that stuff, made the marks on here, so I got to cut it all up. Don't mind this weird jumbled mess of measurements and stuff. It makes sense to me. I tried to explain it, but it won't really make sense if I try to explain it. So I'm just going to cut it out and it'll make sense as you see me do it. so here are how the pieces are gonna go. They're just sitting on there now, but they're pretty much, they came out like exactly how they're supposed to, so they fit in there decently right now. So it's just gonna be these welded to the side, and then this welded all the way around the tube. This can be welded all the way around the tube, and the back side here touches the tube, but down here there's a gap because of that bend kind of being off center. Because of this bend, it doesn't really line up perfectly to like, so I can't weld this plate to it fully, but it'll be plenty strong enough with those support pieces. But next step, before I actually weld anything, I'm gonna throw the seat in here real quick and throw the steering column back in. That way I can figure out if it's actually in a good spot, which hopefully it is. It should be, because it is lined up with the dash. Well, I conveniently broke my tack just when I needed to. So this position, it's good. It's centered with this seat, so my seat position's good. I didn't mess that up, which is nice. So unless I'm completely wrong in where I'm putting the steering wheel, when I actually throw it into the linkage to mount up to the power steering, or not the power steering, but the steering rack, which I shouldn't be, because that can move around quite a bit, so you have quite a bit of adjustability with that. So this should work really well. So I'm going to pull all this back out, weld up the side tabs to this mount, clean it all up, weld it up really well, and then tack it back into place, and then should be good to weld it fully up, and then this will be done. And I'm going to slot these holes just a little bit on the actual steering column, just to give me a little bit of adjustability that I can play with too. They're already partially slotted, so I can adjust them just a little bit, so that's not an issue. Just in case I do want to move it a little bit left or right. Aren't these some awesome safety goggles I got? So I actually got these things for like $3 as some plasma cutting glasses, since they are like shade 5, which most like good sunglasses are. So I could have got something a little bit better, but you know, these work pretty good and they're pretty cheap and they're pretty funny looking, so why not? Alright, just finished welding up the bracket completely, so it's all ready. Well, once it cools, for me to throw it in there, tack it into place, and then weld it up fully. It's probably a lot beefier than it needs to be. These are big 17mm bolts, but they're the only weld nuts I had, so whatever, overkill's better anyway. And my camera died. I got it all tacked into place. Well, just one tack right now, and then I want to throw the steering column in there to make sure that it all still made sense and that it worked, and it's good. So I'm just going to tack up the opposite side now, and then pull the steering column again, and then weld all this fully to the dash bar. seating position, steering wheel mounted, steering columns mounted. Everything's good with the dash and this, so I'm happy with somewhat of the progress that I made today. But today has been a very slow day for me. So I just got back from vacation for like 2 weeks, and I didn't really work on the car. Well, I didn't work on the car at all for 2 weeks. Didn't really do any YouTube, any uploading or anything like that. As you guys probably saw, I think I put like 2 videos up, and I like squeezed a little bit of time here and there. But been a struggle to actually get started all day today. So I'm gonna start getting more into the groove of things, getting stuff knocked out. I got a huge list left. I actually did that this morning. I made a gigantic list of everything that I have left to do before the rally. So I need to stop going so slow like today and taking so many breaks like I was, because I haven't felt like working on it, I'll be honest. But it'll be different tomorrow. Definitely get right into it. Start making some gussets. You guys will start seeing more uploads, like I said. That way you aren't so far behind in the progress that I'm making. So to do that, obviously the videos have to be a little bit less intricate. Not that they're very intricate, like I was saying. But anyway, that's all I'm going to do for today. So without further ado, I'm going to end this video and stop dragging it out. So I'll see you guys tomorrow when I'm doing gussets on the car.